Are your helicopters in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 about to feel a whole lot more real? That's the promise of FSRealistic Plus, and I'm putting that add-on to the test. Even better, I'm giving you a chance to win a copy. More on that in a moment. FSRealistic Plus brings a whole bunch of new sound effects, subtle or dramatic audio cues that feed your sense of realism. And on top of that, it adds camera effects, little movements and reactions that the default helicopters just don't have. Think turbulence, hard landings, vibrations, all those subtle sensations that can make a big difference. And I'll demonstrate the helicopter-specific features in this video. FSRealistic Plus is available now for MSFS 2024 for $30 US. But there's a couple of important things you need to know. First, virtual reality, that is not yet supported. Also, the add-on requires Parallel 42's ChasePlane to work. And just so you know, this is not a sponsored video. RK Apps did give me a key so I could test FSRealistic Plus and show you how it performs. But even better, they've given me another key for a giveaway. And into that giveaway, I'm adding a $25 Parallel 42 gift voucher to help the winner pick up ChasePlane as well. All you need to do to enter is subscribe to my new newsletter before 21st of March 2026, and the link to that is in the video description. The newsletter, it's an easy-to-read companion to all the helicopter content I'm making for Microsoft Flight Simulator with some extra insights from me, all designed to make your flying more immersive, more complete, more fun. So sign up now and be in to win FSRealistic Plus and a voucher towards ChasePlane. So let's get into this thing and let's fly. Well, here in Zgoja Obsavi in lovely Slovenia, let's start to have a look at this. Now, this is default MSFS 2024. It's a replay from SkyDolly that I'm just going to roll past a couple of times so you can see the difference. So what do we think of the motion of the default pilot camera here? Well, when we start to take this turn, it's kind of fixed. I mean, we can see the compass up top there jiggling around a bit, but otherwise the view is entirely fixed. So that's what the default looks and sounds like. And now here is exactly the same scene with ChasePlane only switched on, not FSRealistic Plus just yet. So notice now we've got a bit of shimmying and jiggling around here. So the pilot's head's, we can infer from this, is kind of being vibrated along with the rest of the helicopter. And the way I've got my ChasePlane view set there, you can see the horizon is partially held there, and we kind of get that sense that we're leaning along with the helicopter into that turn. That's what the effect suggests to me. Now here we are with FSRealistic Plus and ChasePlane on, and see if you can hear the difference. We've got that wind noise, that airflow noise around the airframe, something missing from a lot of add-ons, including the default Robinson R66 here in MSFS 2024. So that's number one. We've already got that among the many effects that FSRealistic Plus allows, and we'll look further into them soon. But I'm already loving the addition of that. And what else do we notice about the camera? Well, it's reasonably steady here. We see a little bit of shimmying around. There it is there, a little bit of vibration. It comes and goes a bit more. It's a bit more dynamic, I suggest. And now we start to lean into this turn here. The camera, I can tell, is just anticipating that turn just very slightly. Of course, I don't have head tracking on for this demonstration. We're leaning into that turn. And for me, this view's feeling a little bit more alive. The vibration is a little bit more subtle. I'm actually liking what I'm hearing and seeing here. And now we've got like an external sort of engine blast sound there. Sounds like a rocket. I can adjust that. Maybe a little bit too strong there, but kind of a cool effect. And now coming into the helipad, one more sound effect to listen out for. Just starting to come in now. There it is. It's the reflection of the sound off the ground. So we get an extra, it's called ground effect inside FSRealistic Plus. But in real life, we can just hear the sound of the engine and the rotor bouncing back off the ground there. And we noticed a little bit of a bump as I touched the ground there. Maybe FSRealistic Plus thought I could do that a bit more smoothly, and it knocked the head camera around a bit when I made contact with the ground. Now I'm going to change to another helicopter in a moment and we'll build a profile from scratch. But here, this is what it looks like inside your toolbar, FSR Plus. This is the FSRealistic Plus panel, and here you can see all the effects that are open to us. Things like afterburner are not relevant to helicopters, obviously, so we can see that that has no dot there. Airflow noise has a grey dot, breathing has a white dot. What do they mean? If it's got that grey dot, it means it's activated, but it's not being triggered right now. So because our ground speed or our airspeed is 0, that is not being triggered right now, so no airflow noise is being fed into the sim. Breathing is active and it is triggered, and that gives a gentle rise and fall to the camera view that you'd hardly perceive, but just adds a little bit more dynamism, a little bit more motion to the image. And there's all the other ones we have there. Cockpit ambience, for some reason, don't know why, but that never seems to trigger inside this helicopter, so I'm not getting the cockpit ambience. And the one I'm going to be spending the most time on in the rest of this video is rotor dynamics. So we're going to have a proper look through all of those shortly. And yes, the other ones, prop, side slip, nose wheel shimmy, not relevant to helicopters, so you can leave all of those off. When you are happy with your profile, you can do this. You can share to cloud, R66 enhanced, let's say, share that. Sharing, okay, good. And now that goes, I don't know why I had to change the view there, that goes into the cloud, and you may download that for yourself, and you can tell me how much you like or dislike my profile that I've made for the R66 there. And here is a deservedly popular add-on for MSFS 2024, the Taugs Hangar 500C and Cayuse Twin Pack. This is the 500C. Oh, listen to that engine blast sound there. That is exciting. But there's a very good reason for me to demonstrate FSRealistic Plus with this helicopter, because I think there were maybe a couple of areas, especially in the sounds, where the 500C could be improved by a pack like this one. And if you like what you're seeing here in FSRealistic Plus, I remind you, you have an opportunity to win one copy of this and a voucher towards your purchase of ChasePlane, which is required for operating with FSRealistic Plus. All you need to do is just look in the video description here and you'll find a link to subscribe to my new newsletter. And anyone who has subscribed on the 21st of March 2026, I will go through all of those email addresses, I will randomly select one, and you will win this add-on. Aren't you possibly very lucky? Anyway, let's look at how we can use FSRealistic Plus to help enhance the H500 here. So, notice that some of these excellent people here have made some profiles. I'm going to copy from my profiles here, and because there is only ever one profile at a time, the one I had for the R66 was that one. I apply that, and now those effects that I already had set up for the R66 are now applied here in the 500C. Now, something that is missing in the default Taugs Hangar add-on is this airflow noise, and I'll show you what we can do here. We can test this. That's at 100% airflow noise. I can use those sliders there to get that just how I think it should be. I like to just get just a nice balance. And this muffle filter here, it's like an audio engineering would call this a high pass filter. If I turn this over to the right, it'll get more muffled. That's good there. I like it. It feels a bit bassier the more you take this to the right. I would just say one thing about the slider. It could do with a bit more finesse at this end, like maybe if it were, I'm not quite sure if it's linear or logarithmic or what, but notice between 99 and 100, there's quite a large difference there. So a little bit more detail in the 90s would be nice for me, so that I could just fine-tune this a bit more finely. So there we are. There's the airflow noise balanced with the helicopter background engine noise. So I'll stop that test. And now that will be applied when we get flying. So let's as promised, look at these rotor dynamics. Now, this is the fun stuff. So we have both camera and sound settings here. So let's start with the camera. We're going to start testing these harmonics. This is just the wobble, I suppose, yeah? And you can see what's happening there as I go all the way out to 100. I could change the intensity of that. That seems a bit much for me. Maybe about there. I'll just let you see the panel a bit more. Okay, so that's just a subtle one there, and if I were to go back to 0, then you can see what the difference is. Alright, that's quite a nice way to test it, so good work, RK apps. Okay, next one to test, ground effect. So we get a little bit of bouncing around inside the cabin. I wonder if that effect might be a little bit too much there for ground effect. I'm going to reduce that slightly there, and I feel that sound is probably about right. The ground effect is airflow noise 1. Notice I can change these. It feels like that's just filtered though. A bit too deep for the Hughes 500 maybe. Yeah, I think airflow noise 1 probably feels about right for the 500C. You just choose the one that works for you. It's fine. It's you don't have to agree with me on all of these settings. VRS. Now, VRS is modeled... Oh yeah, is modeled inside the Hughes 500C by the developer. But let's see this effect. We'll give this a go and like, wow, that is really knocking around there. So maybe that VRS camera effect is, I'll just go back to camera, VRS intensity, maybe a little bit too high on the camera effect there. It should be quite dramatic. Maybe, that's quite good. I quite like the sound though. Now ETL, yeah, good. ETL is what in DCS, people who come from DCS often criticize Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 for lacking some of the things that they've got used to in that simulator. One of them is, I think, might be called Transverse Flow Effect inside DCS, but in FSRealistic Plus here it's called ETL, Effective Translational Lift. When we transition into Effective Translational Lift, we get something called the Transverse Flow Effect, where the front of the disc has smoother air than the aft of the disc, and that causes a side-to-side kind of shimmy and a bit of noise. So now listen to that blade effect there. It's a two-bladed sound. I'm going to leave that all the way over there for my testing purposes. Now, I thought ETL, 2 blades, I thought, oh, that's a bit rubbish. The 500C's got 4 blades, but then I realised I can scroll through all of these to find the sound effect that I like. So that sounds a bit deep to me, a bit whirry. 5 blades. I think the 500C maybe 2 or 3 there. That feels good there, I think, for the transverse flow effect for when we transition into ETL. Blade slapping. Again, we've got a 2-bladed sound there. Let's just translate that to a 4-bladed sound. Again, just trying to balance that with the natural engine sound there. That feels about right to me. Again, you might have a different point of view. These sensitivities, I'm just going to leave them all like that for now, and we'll just make do with that. So I'm pretty happy with all of that. I propose I stop that test and we have a little flight. Now, this time I've got the head tracking on, as you can see there, just to show you that the shimmy effect there still works with the head tracking. Very nice. So we come aft and left on the cyclic, we come left on the pedal, and we lift our collective. Getting some nice bassy sounds there. What RK Apps and FSRealistic Plus calls ground effect, but it's kind of that reflective sound coming off the ground. Okay, now look out for the transverse flow effect. I'm going to nose down when we gain speed. There it is. Yeah, not much of a shimmy there. Do you know what? I'm going to stop and I'm going to... Well, first of all, we'll see what this landing touchdown is like here. Oh, and we get a bit of a pilot dramatic sound there as well with heartbeat and breathing. Exciting. Okay, rotor dynamics again. So we want to test the ETL. Yes, I just want a more intense camera effect there. Okay, it looks too dramatic there, but I think it will be okay. And maybe just a little bit more sound. Let's try that now when we get flying. Okay, take 2. There it is. There it is there. As we pass through that effective translational lift about 15 to 20 knots, and we get into that nice smooth air across the disc, we get that shimmying and rumble effect there. Very good, like that. So there's our airflow noise. I'm really enjoying that. Makes a big difference in the 500C. Small helicopter. We get this impact now of the wind on the airframe. I like it. And we're trying to overspeed it now. It's shaking. I like that rattle a lot. Really going too fast now for the airframe, but the point is to demonstrate the effect there, and I'm liking what I'm hearing a lot. Okay, let's see if we can trigger the Vortex Ring State effect. I am stable here, hovering, lowering it. There it is. I'm now pulling the collective, but actually it's just accelerating my descent. So I need to get out of that airflow by doing that, and I like the bassiness, I like the shuddering there. It could have been a bit more dramatic for me. I could always tweak that a bit higher if I want to. There's the field up ahead. So I collective down. I'm going to do this a bit harsher than what you might want to do in real life. Here's our blade slap. Blade slap occurs when vortices from the 4 blades affect the rear aft blades, and we get that knocking effect. Happens a lot during deceleration and descent. There you go. Pretty happy with that. I like the bassy impact of it as well, especially in my headphones. It might not be fully coming through on the old YouTube. Now when we get down here, we're expecting the ground effect sound. There it is. And once again down onto the pad. That was a bit softer, didn't even notice it. And I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm liking what I'm seeing here. Developing in Microsoft Flight Simulator is really complex, and the sound tool that they use, Wise, that is incredibly complex in itself as well. So when developers like Taugs Hanger do such a great job on the 500C, but then maybe there's just those last couple of things to help make the experience feel more alive for you, well, that's where ChasePlane in combination with FSRealistic Plus can come in and help to lift your helicopter flight sim experience. I genuinely am impressed with the immersion factor that the app can add to your experience. I think maybe some of the settings might take a little while to dial in to get them exactly the way that you like it. I love that you can share it with other people. I love that you can copy from one of your prior presets or profiles and then put that through to the aircraft that you're working on now. Top work, RK Apps. And one more time, subscribe to the newsletter, go into the draw to win a copy of this and a voucher for ChasePlane 2. And hope to see you around on another video real soon. See you later.